Melissa Bonzak, and welcome to episode 86 of Books Cubed, the show where I chat with authors you should be reading. It is Thursday, January 14th, 2021, and I'm excited to bring you this week's show. I am chatting with Dailey, also known as DK Dailey to her fans. She's written a dystopian series called Golden Dreg Boy. You have to read this series. If you are any kind of dystopian fan, this is a must. So I'm going to get right to it, and I will see you after. And I'm going to read her bio from Amazon. Should I think of what do you call that thing? That place you buy most of your books from? Okay. Dailey's journey started as a child when she began writing sci-fi short stories, a result of watching countless hours of Star Trek on a shared TV with her parents. With an inborn passion for telling stories, writing songs and poems, her hobbies erupted into a career path after she penned a play in college and then her first novel. As a writer of color living in Northern California, she's immersed in a tapestry of culture and history that have been consistently inspiring and helping her to pen numerous novels. So, welcome again. And the series that we're going to talk about today is her Golden Dreg Boy series. So, if you could tell people just a little bit about what that series. Yeah, there's the cover. If you're watching a video, there's the cover, which is. Oh, hold it up one more time. The cover is gorgeous. Her cover artist deserves a round of applause. I'm clapping here and probably making noise in the mic. So just tell people, kind of give them the elevator pitch of what this series is about.
Well, it's a future world where there are only golden and dreg, which are poor and rich people, and so there's a huge divide in pretty much everything possible: healthcare, housing, education. So 17-year-old Cade Shaw is really privileged, rich golden boy who likes to take risk and has to follow a predetermined path in life. And one night he gets accused of falsifying his golden status, which is, in terms, it basically means you get sentenced to death. So it's pretty much about him falling from grace and figuring out who he is and where he comes from, because he really can't depend on his family to rescue him. Some dregs rescue him, and yeah, goes on from there.
Yeah, and you've got a short clip to read from the book for everybody to give them a flavor for it. So if you can go ahead and just dive into that.
Yeah, okay, so this is actually after the dregs rescue him from jail. Um, so it's chapter 15. So it's quite some time into the book. The air conditioning permeates through the vehicle, refreshing me, but freedom isn't in my grasp yet, just yet. Saya maneuvers us onto the tracks with two officer bubbles in close pursuit. I press my hands to the rounded bulletproof glass roof, trying to sneak a look at the action. I'm reminded of M's and how she calls bubbles marbles floating in the sky. The vehicle's twirling colors and lights reflect off the glass of new buildings jutting over the solar tracks above city ruins. New buildings were built without demolishing the old, ragged ones. The government tried to cover up their mistakes in a hurry to create more space for people fleeing their homes to live in the heart of Battle Creek. You're driving manually? I try not to freak out, but my voice cracks. No one drives manually. Saya rolls her eyes. Only Goldens let themselves be driven around, trusting technology and whatnot. I move my lips, but then think better of it. I also don't want anybody hacking into the bubble, you doink. My brain's not wired to think the worst of the government. Biting my lip, I gaze up. The track tiers have two solar rails set 100 feet apart, radiating energy to all vehicles on the track. Two cop bubbles swarm behind us, matching our excessive speed. One tries to force us off the track and into the exit, but Saya teeters above the pedestrians in the same area, avoiding the bulldozing maneuver. They get caught behind and in between our other bubbles. She speeds up, putting distance between them and us. Above us, the BART rocket train flies past at close to 200 miles per hour. I look back down so I don't get dizzy. To keep busy, I bang on the electric dashboard. Finally, the stream of the back of the bubble jolts on. and a mess of black and white blurred lines covers the screen. It would help to be the navigator, but I'm losing interest in the failing technology. You're the girl from the market, the none of your business girl. You just realized that, genius? Attitude tenses her voice. No, I knew the moment you took off your helmet. She rolls her eyes again. Man, I can't catch a break with this girl. She's already hates me. How did you get the bubbles? I keep talking, hoping she'll find me charming. Everyone does eventually. We stole them. Figures. I shake my head. Thanks for rescuing me, Saya. Why, you're very welcome, Cade. She mocks and then concentrates on the track ahead of us. I was going to thank, just shut it. I peer at her with respectful eyes. I'm safe in her beautiful and more than capable hands. Never mind her treating me like Shucky. She just saved my life and lost someone who she obviously loved. She looks the same as I remember. Same clothes, but cleaner. Her hair falls into her eyes and she pushes it back, tucking longer pieces behind an ear. I'm a total pervert drinking her in like this, but it's hard to concentrate in such close proximity. A bubble crashes into my door, startling me. The silver blue flashing lights reflect off our bubble's dusty glass as the cops level out above another vehicle next to us. Ours shakes with each movement, like an olden day elevator stopping on a high floor. Normally, rides are smooth, but this older model is unstable. I check the tracks above and below us, but don't see any laps in traffic. If Saya signals, our bubble will ping cars on the track, slowing them down to make room for us to enter traffic on a different track level, but we're blocked in. Hitting the electric dashboard again makes the live stream replace static. The cop bubble on screen is behind us for only a second before it knocks us into the vehicle ahead. With a twist of the wheel, Saya jerks our bubble. The back of my head hits the headrest and I grab the spot and grunt. Hold on, she shouts. She narrows her eyes, then moves above and to the side of the cop bubble before dipping underneath. Leveling us out on the track, she slants sideways, missing the bubble, slowing down or dodging us. On the dashboard in the distance, the cops that bumped us crash into another bubble, swiping below them unexpectedly. The flashing lights ricochet off the shiny trail racks and their bubble fades into the distance. Have you done this before? We get chased a lot. The dashboard reveals another cop bubble, still in pursuit. A loud knocking, squeaking noise invades our vehicle. We lose height under the weight of their bubble. We go down until Saya skids to the left. Unable to pull out of their forced free fall, the cops drop through the set of tracks. That doesn't happen often. Moves like Saya's are illegal because at any moment's notice, track tiers curve, dip, and change directions. Through the clear floor, the cop bubble falls to the last few tiers and crashes on the bottom track. It hits like Humpty Dumpty falling off the wall. Cracked pieces serve as relics. Saya nosedives to the track below, following its curves around old ruins. She hovers and then slips into a gap between two towering apartment buildings 50 or more stories high. Since the world quake, some towers have been built side by side into more supportive structures, but somehow a crevice big enough for a bubble to fit through exists. Did you know about this spot? Yeah, she shifts her eyes to our surroundings. A construction miscalculation. Are there any other little crannies like this? I refocus on the tracks and the bubbles flying by. This is the only one I know. We studied street maps and cased out possible routes before rescuing you. So this was planned. As soon as you were taken into custody, yes. She averts her eyes. What about hacking? The officer on the radio said you guys hacked into the system. We found a back door. She meets my eyes. What? I frown. Pike will tell you everything when you meet him. She shifts her focus back to the road. You mean if? No, I mean when. Guess I don't really have a choice. I'm a wanted criminal, and they obviously know what they're doing. If I lived as a fugitive on my own, I wouldn't know the first thing about surviving. Another cop bubble passes by, flashing bright searchlights fluttering above the highest track. They disappear into a bubble cluster like a bird assimilating into their flock. That was the last of them. I know, dummy. She rolls her eyes yet again. We waited out 5 minutes, I think. We'll be good to go. Geez, you've done nothing but insult me since I met you. A spirited smile dances on the edge of my mouth. If I was easily hurt, this isn't the Scouts. I don't have to be nice to you. Her aggravated groan, accompanied with her words, turns me on. But you had to rescue me, right? I must be pretty important. She glares. What if I throw myself out of the bubble? Go at it on my own. I touch the button door, faking as if I'll do it. She's not amused, but flinches. You'd best stay with us. She sweeps her eyes over me. You wouldn't know how to make it on your own anyway. She busies herself once more, examining a little part of the track that's visible ahead. My ego shrinks. I'm beginning to think she can't say or think anything good about me. From the little conversation we've shared, her view of Goldens is derogatory. She's been taught to believe we're good for nothing. What's that thing moms say? If you can't say anything good, say nothing at all. Saya should try that mantra sometime. After about 5 minutes, she re-enters the track. In the stream of the bubbles rear, our bubbles surround other bubbles surround us as the afternoon slips away, red and yellow streaks of sunset blazing into the distance. We're safe and clear now. But what could the mysterious group of rebels possibly want with me?
Dun dun. Yeah. What could they possibly want? And I thought it was very exciting. You know, when I think young adult, I just I don't actively seek out books that are written for young adult, and I know a lot of adults read young adult. Actually, I heard the other day that more young adult novels are read by adults than young adults.
Yeah, yeah. I think
So
it's something like women ages like 20 something to 35 or 40.
yes,
It's kind of surprising. Yeah.
yeah, it was very surprising. And so when you're writing these, now they're written. I'm trying to move so that you can't see my background behind me. Okay, here we go. So when I know my setup is still screwed up, so I'm gonna try not to move. So if you're on video, you don't have to see glimpses of my very messy office behind me. Excuse me. So when you're writing these books, they're written for young adult. You
Mhm.
know adults are going to read them, but you also know kids are going to read them. Because I sent these, I think I told you, I told my sister and my nephews are 13 and 9, and I told her, you got to read this book. It's so exciting. I was about
Mhm.
2 chapters in maybe. And then she went ahead, I guess she got the books and I'm reading and all of a sudden he starts talking about boobs and I'm like, I sent porn to my 9-year-old nephew. And but it's not, I mean, he was okay. It's not, it really is not porn, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, what 9-year-olds think about boobs too.
They do, they do. And when I called her and I said, "Oh my God," and she said, "Oh," she said, "That's okay." She said, "I read to them, and when I see something like that, I just replace it with a different word." I said, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's great." So as you're writing these, what are you trying to write toward? You know, the adults that'll read, or the adults and the kids, and how much does that hinder what you're going to put on the page?
I try to write towards the kids as far as language and maybe the situations that they'll be in the sense of like with Cade, all he really ever does is make out with people. So I in YA there's like such a huge scope of what you can do because there are some people that definitely have sexual situations more intense, but most of the time it's usually closed door. Um, I think when creating a world, I also made up my own language in the sense for my slang words, so I didn't necessarily have to cuss too much. So those are the sort of things that I was keeping into mind. And then I think the themes and what he deals with definitely go all the way from teen to adult. So I never really have to worry about that sort of stuff. So it was just more, I was cautious of like, what's the language I'm using? And I mean, even now, there's definitely a lot of YA that has cuss words in it. But like I changed the SH word to shucky And I did a couple other things, like zarding is one of my curse words as well. So I think I just write and then I go back and look at it and try to really just think back. Can I see a teenager in this situation? Is this how they would really react? That sort of thing. So
Yeah, I really liked that you created your own curse words because it pulled me into their world. I felt like I was one of them because I knew the curse words,
yeah.
you know, and I really did like that. I did like that. So this was the first, Golden Dreg Boy was the first book. That's the name of the series, right?
Yeah. Golden
So
Dreg
what
Boy.
was the name again of the first one?
The slums.
The Slums. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with names. So it was very good book. It went very fast. I know that you have audio now for that first one, right?
Yeah, I have audio for the first one, and actually the first, well, there's two prequels. So the book series technically is 6 books, but there's 4 main books and 2 prequels. One prequel is from Cade's point of view, and it's him building the skate park with his best friend Noodle or Marcus. And then Saya's is really before she meets Cade and all that leads up to Cade. So and what I read, the snippet that I read, she said that they were studying it, studying maps and that sort of thing. So she obviously knew of him before she went to go rescue him with the other group. So yeah, there's 6 total novels, but 4 main novels.
Will there be more than four? You continuing to write in this series?
Yes, it's called the Golden Dreg World. So when I was first beta and getting critiqued on the book, so many people were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! You have to expand the world and that sort of thing." And so I was started thinking, and there's basically right now there's 4 planned series within the world. It actually ends up being where this is the second to last series within the world. So there's the what's it called, Golden Dreg Boy, and then there's Golden Dreg Quake, which will handle all of what happened during the world quake. And then there's Golden Dreg Army, which handles all of the war part. And all of this is like within the books. You hear about their whole history. Like I think even in the book 1, you hear about the war and you hear about the quake.
Yeah.
And then the last part of the series is Golden Dreg Robot, which is just basically more technology. So that comes after Golden Dreg Boy, and that was the last series that I just thought of. So that one's not that planned out. Yeah.
Well, it felt like a very realized world. You know, when I was reading it, I could visualize the things. I could visualize what was being written uh, uh, very easily, and I could see
Mhm.
so many different offshoots from these characters that you were working on. Now I know for with 2020, thank God is gone. It's 2021,
Yes.
yay! And for me, it was a really tough year to write. It took
Yeah.
me like 8 months to finish one book. It
Yeah.
was just nuts. I think it was just exhausting. The year was exhausting. How
Yeah.
did you do with writing for the year?
I good thing that I wrote pretty much all of the books before the year even started. So I had started writing this series in 2013. I would say 2012 is when I like had my first like Cade came to me, and I don't know if it was like a dream or I was daydreaming or whatever, but the character Cade came to me first. He was riding this cool skateboard but it was a flying skateboard, and that's how it started. And then I started building characters in a world around him. So I've been living with the characters for a very long time. So by the time I think at the end of 2019, I said I'm gonna I had a little bit of luck querying and a little bit of luck with agents and a couple small publishers, but they all said like pretty much this is great writing, but we have enough dystopian. So I just decided, hey, I'm going to publish it on my own. So I think I made a declaration December 2019. I'm going to publish it 2020. Um, So I started writing on the last book in 2017 was when that started, and I'd never finished it. So 2020 was the time I was finishing about the last fourth of the last book. But even that in 2020, I didn't finish it until August. And I had to keep on pushing back the date because I needed time for the editor and the copy editor and all that stuff. But yeah, that book, if I'm just counting 2020 time, it took me like 6 months to write all of maybe 100 pages, which is not a whole book. So it's been super difficult to concentrate, I think, with everything going on. So yeah, I had a difficult time like you did. So I was just very happy that I already had all the rest of the books done, so it wasn't an issue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good. And I'm glad that you didn't listen to people telling you that there's enough dystopian. I used to be a literary
Yeah,
agent, and I can tell you that they don't know everything. I'm
yeah.
sure there's some out there that do, but it's like, and especially publishing houses. Let's see, what was I reading the other day? That show, The Queen's Gambit, about the girl that plays
Hmm.
chess.
Yeah,
He was rejected by, like, he spent 30 years trying to bring it to the screen, and people kept telling him no one wants to watch anything about chess. Boy, were they wrong.
yeah.
When you feel you've got something powerful and you have a very powerful world,
Thank
and
you.
and there's just so many themes in the book between rich and poor and black and white, and there's just so many themes and so much richness to it, that it would have been really devastating if someone had talked you out of publishing because they decided there was enough dystopian out there.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people get talked out of writing things, and people will put the I've known people in my writing groups that, just came back to writing after 10 years because somebody ripped apart their stuff or told them whatever. But I mean, luckily I have really good parents and people around me. So I think I have pretty high confidence in general. And then with this book, everyone that read it said the same thing. They said it was really good. And even the agents and all them, they said it was good. It just, we don't want dystopian. One agent told me um, that she said I had a couple of options. She said, you can sit on it and wait till the trend of dystopian comes back around, or you can publish it on your own. But she said, be very leery about publishing it on your own because you really need to do as well as you can in order to get an agent later, basically. So I keep that in the back of my mind, but I just after because again, I was living with this since 2013, and by 2019, I was like, this is just way too long for me to be holding on to books, and I have not just this series, but tons of other series and books too. So I think that contributed, because they say write your first book and then keep on writing. So that's what I did. So I wrote this series plus other series. So it just came to a point where I look around and I'm like, wait, I have 16 books. Okay, I need to publish something.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. And even if you got an agent, you're still going to have to do your own marketing.
Yeah,
So why why let your agent and a publishing house take all of your money
yeah.
and you do all the work and get nothing?
Yeah, well, at that point, I had put so much into this series that that was like I wasn't gonna do it. Like I came to a point, I think 2017, I was just like, well, you know what, I'm gonna write this series through, and I'm not gonna worry about getting an agent for at least this series, because I had done the logos, I had done covers, which I had to change later, but I had just done so much work that I just was like, I'm not gonna just give them my book and then get nothing for it.
Oh,
So
yeah, and nowadays with social media and with advertising, and there's so many sites out there that, you can advertise through that have huge followings.
yeah,
You can make I mean, I know plenty of people who make a living, their only job is writing.
yeah,
And once you have enough books out there, you totally can make a living as long as you write well. I do know some people that have lots and lots of books that are badly written, none of them have been on my show, thank goodness, but that are badly written and they don't make a living, and it's because they're badly written. But if
Yeah.
you're a good writer like you are, you just keep putting those books out there, and you will connect with audiences.
Yeah. Thank
And they will
you.
read through. Yeah, I'm really
Yeah.
anxious for the audio of the next book to come out. When will the audio for book 2 come out?
So, my audio person who I love, Isaac Hernandez, I found him on ACX, which is Audible's platform for finding authors and getting them to narrate and go through the process. So when I knew I wanted audio, I went to ACX and I just listened to tons and tons of people. And I wanted a low per finished hour rate, because that's how much they end up charging in the end. And so I found a newbie, and we had to work a lot on book one to get it to where it was. It took like so many months, like over 6 months probably. I started ahead thinking, I'll start and then I'll be finished just as the books are releasing, but it took us a long time. But he had a horrible 2020. So he had to back out, and I just learned that recently. So I was kind of waiting for him, and then he finally told me he couldn't continue on. So it was really sad. He did the skate park, which is the prequel, and he did the slums book one. And then I have a Saya who she just finished the Under the Bridge, which is her prequel. So I have three books out right now on Audible. And the next one, so book 2, 3, and 4, we're starting fairly soon. I pretty much just need to send the new guy the script, but I had to take time to look for a new person and then negotiate and all that kind of stuff. But he has a little bit more experience in audiobooks, no experience within my genre. But he has a really good voice for Cade. So I'm thinking we're going to be able to finish each book in about 2 months. So I'm hoping basically by the summer, all books will be released. So
Oh,
that's
that's
my long answer
fantastic.
to your
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And I'm trying to think, did I listen to it on audio or did I read it? I think I went back and forth between the two. I'm trying.
Yeah, I think that's what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to, I was talking with somebody about this the other day. I have stacks of books and I have tons of books on my Kindle and I have tons of audiobooks and I listen to whatever I'm in the mood for. And it goes back and forth. And I will, if I'm around my husband who keeps talking to me, then I'll read. And if I'm not
Mhm.
around him, then I can listen on audiobooks.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So as dystopian, say I
Mhm.
write cozy mysteries at the moment. And there's certain points you got to hit with a cozy mystery to keep your readers happy,
Mhm.
which kind of make me a little nuts. There's some things that I would like to do differently because I really thought I was a mystery writer, and everybody kept saying, "No, you're cozy. There's no cursing." I said, "Well, no, she doesn't curse. She's always in a different city." Um, I can't remember all the little things, and they're all, "No, no, no, you're cozy." And I thought, "Really? Am I?" Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I thought I don't want to have to be pigeonholed into something that's expected of me. With
Yeah.
dystopian, do you feel like you want to stay true to the tropes that people are expecting, or do you want to kind of
Mhm.
branch out and be just a little more original in what you do with your novels?
Um, I think I stay true to most, like, I think what people expect with YA dystopian. I think it's fast pacing, um, is one of the main ones. For a while, it was the whole triangle thing, love triangle, and that was one thing I wanted to get away from. But I mean, I guess I could argue that I do hit that one a little bit, but it was not purposely done, and it isn't as angsty, I don't think, as some other love triangles that I've
Yeah, it's not
read.
angsty. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
worried when he first sees her in the skate park, Saya, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
when he first sees her in the skate park, I was worried that it would be real angsty when I knew they'd
Hmm.
be meeting up again later. I mean, it wasn't. I really liked their relationship
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah, and I think that Cade comes a long way. I think I do lose some readers because they get their first impression, and then they don't let the way Cade changes throughout the novel kind of affect their first impression. And some people do that, I think, in your normal life. You meet someone and you start off on the wrong foot, and it's nothing they can do to do anything to correct that. So I've met some readers who've talked to me about that. um so in general, I think I wrote Cade true to the guys I knew in high school and college, and I played sports. And so for maybe whatever reason, I got like a little different angle of guys. And then I also was one of the only girls growing up, to a bunch of boy cousins. So I was more on the boys' side in the sense where I heard them talk about boobs and talk about, like, somebody's butt as they walked away or that sort of thing. So, it's how I wrote Cade. But I think when he goes through all the things that he has to go through in life, he's definitely not that shallow and just selfish in general. And I think he does have that redeeming quality of his sister. Um, and his mom, for that matter. He really loves his mom and his sister, and he'll like fight to the death for them. So I think I did touch on a few tropes here and there, but I tried to just make it original. The world, as far as like, just I wanted a world that I had never seen. And then a world, I think when you deal with sci-fi, you have to ask, like, what if? Like, for me, being a Black person in America, the healthcare system has always been a problem. Access to education, that's equal, that sort of thing. That kind of stuff has always been an issue, albeit a little bit under the surface. But I think when even we're seeing it now, all the inefficiencies we have in the world have come out like full blown during COVID. We've seen a whole lot this past year. So there are a lot of similarities, I think, that can be drawn definitely with my novel and with COVID. And now that we're still in it come January 2021. So yeah, I think I just try to be as original as possible, but I also try to satisfy the reader that is definitely expecting certain things.
Yeah, and I don't want to give anything away, but there's an overall theme I think that's probably going to run across the novels. That's a nefarious plot.
Yeah.
And when I got to that point, I was like, "Oh, yes. This is
Yeah.
so good. So good." And it's
Yeah.
something that everything is wrapped up in, don't be afraid to jump into the first book expecting it to suddenly end and nothing's wrapped up. I mean, it that's not how it works. I mean, it does wrap up, but you have other
Mhm.
things that take over for book 2. But there's
Yeah.
that overall that little plot that's going to propel across all of the books. And I
Yeah.
really, really, I mean, it's like when I read that, I'm just like, yeah, that's great, because sometimes people leave that out, and
Mhm.
you really need something overall that is it works across the whole series.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
that
as I ended that, the let me see what the last line was for the thing that I don't even have I thought I had my bookmark still there. But from what I read, he basically said, like, what do they have in store for me? Like, why'd they rescue me? And so he's kind of grappling with that question the whole time he's there, trying to figure out, okay, they're teaching him things, they're teaching him how to fight, they're teaching him how to scavenge. It's all the things that they do to survive, because they definitely are a group that flies under the radar, and they want to, based on how their world is built. So he basically, being with them, he starts understanding more of the hierarchies and what's really going on in the world, because he really was in a bubble. He thought that he was, he'd give points or money. So he'd give points to people in the market, and he'd be nice. And so he thought, well, I'm really helping, and I'm really, I know the plight of the poor and this. And it's like he learns that he doesn't know shucky, basically.
yeah.
So that
Yeah,
was
and
fun writing.
Yeah, I really liked his the way his character grows. And yes, there are, there is that tension between the two of them. And sometimes you meet someone and you never can warm up to them. But I think that he changes enough as the book goes along that you're rooting for him because he's kind of he's kind of a clueless jerk,
Yeah,
at times.
definitely.
But yeah, he really, I mean, all the characters, and I like when characters grow and change. I don't want to
Yeah,
read the same thing happening to the characters in every single book. It makes me
yeah.
nuts. And they I really like that they grew even just in the one book.
Hmm.
Not just him, but her also.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and there's plenty of characters still that are around them that I'm like, boy, I'm not sure if that person is a good person or a bad person. Do they have ulterior motives? And I'm dying to
Yeah,
read book two and
yeah.
just see where this is gonna go. It was just great. Just
Thank you.
drew me right in right away. Yeah, I mean, I loved the book. Drew me in right away. Uh, I just I wish I could just sit and read all day long. Unfortunately, I don't have time to do that, and I need to start getting myself to where I give myself more permission to just sit and write, in the
Yeah,
afternoons, and write. Excuse me, sit and read in the afternoons. Um, but I think I'm getting better. I have terrible arthritis, so I've started dictating when I write, and just my what I get done just has shot up amazing amounts of how much I'm getting done in just 2-3 hours a day. And I think I'll
yeah.
be able to just give myself so much more time to get back to reading. 'Cause I miss just sitting and reading a book all day long. That's all I do.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot. Like you said before, I have a lot of audio things on audio, and then I have a pile of books that I are at home just like staring at me, and then tons on my Kindle. But then when you're a writer, you also have to make time for writing, so it just becomes more difficult, yeah, to just do everything. And then I work full time, so that, throw that into the loop. I do have to try and maximize all the time that I have. So yeah, I've ended up listening to a lot of audio lately just because I can't sit down with a book and read it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I went to bed at 7 o'clock last night and opened a book and read about a page and fell asleep. It's like,
Yeah.
and it wasn't bad. It's a great book. I've been reading it very slowly because the third book in the series is coming out soon, but not soon
Hmm.
enough, where you can't just jump from
Yeah.
one to the next. So I've been kind of slowly reading a page or two at a time, but it's like, oh man, I was just so tired yesterday. We watched football all day and then I guess I was tired from cheering. It was the
Yeah.
Packers. They won. It was a great game. Um, but yeah, it's just I there needs to be more hours in the day.
Yeah, for sure. I always say I wish I could clone myself. I'd send her to work and
Yeah.
then I'd I'd write all day.
But now you said you've written like a couple dozen books. How many are out
Yeah.
right now?
Just the Golden Dreg Boy series. So I released the sixth book, or really, I guess it's the fourth book, in the Golden Dreg Boy series. I released that on the 31st of December. So I got my goal of releasing 6 books this past year. So I plan actually on releasing 6 books a year for the next 3 years for this series. So that would put out Golden Dreg Boy, Golden Dreg Quake, and Golden Dreg Army. That would put out 3 series. And then again, I haven't even really plotted the fourth. So the fourth series in the world. So I'm hoping that I figure something out by that time. I think I should.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think once you have that third series out, you will be able to quit your day job.
I hope so. Yeah. That's why I'm also trying to do this so quick, because I think obviously, like you talked about, the more books that you have, the more, fan base that you can build, as well as money you can make. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Well, tell everybody how they can find you. Do you have a mailing list?
I do have a mailing list, but I'm still figuring things out. But if you go to my website, dkdailey.com, you can get on my mailing list from my for my website. Or if, like, for instance, you do it and it doesn't work, just email me. You can email me from my website too. All this tech stuff, I still have to figure out, like, a website person. I got someone to build it and then work on it, and now I have to figure out somebody needs to update it because it's not going to be me. So
And
yes,
your
I don't
books are
know if that part is working quite, but dkdaily.com for more information.
okay. And your books are wide, or are they just on Amazon?
Right now they're wide. I'm really thinking about KU, but they would still be available in print at like Barnes and Nobles and I think Kobo. But right now they're Amazon, Kobo, Google, Barnes and Nobles, and I feel like it's one more. But yeah, right now they're wide.
Do you have your books in overdrive? Can people request them from their
Yeah.
libraries?
Yeah, I have them in overdrive through Amazon. So yeah, you
That's
can
great. Yeah,
request
I
it.
always remind everybody listening. I always try to remind you often if you download if you have an iPhone and you download the Libby app, you can input your library card number, and you can get or you can ask for indie authors' books. The libraries, if they get enough requests, they will buy the books and they will have them available. And yes, the
Yeah.
authors do get paid every time someone downloads one of the books from the library app. And so you get the book for free, but the author still gets paid. And it's a great way to help out indie authors, get them in as many libraries as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for coming on today. I was so excited to talk to you. And the books have been the book. So I've just read the first one. I'm going to get ready to
Yeah.
read the second one here, but they've been great. I highly recommend them, everybody. And I'll link her
Yeah.
website. And you can, if you don't buy from the river, then you can go to her website and find a different place that you can get her books. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
You will find links to everything we talked about in the show notes. If you have a comment or a book suggestion, go down there. You will see the word comment, which is pretty self explanatory. You click on that, it will take you over to the YouTube channel if you're not already there, and you can leave a comment. I'm also on Instagram, so you can find me under Books Cubed over there. And that's it for this time. I have got another great show for you next week. We're doing another prompt show, and we have a new guest this time. So make sure you tune in, and you will really like it. Those shows are always great. And in the meantime, go read a good book